Hi, I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. An absolute pleasure to be able to speak to you both. How are you doing? Okay.
Hi,
Great.
to see you.
So this show has just been sort of universally liked, whether it's critics, whether it's people who watch TV, the award ceremonies. What do you think it is that has, really touched people so much about it? And what has been so appealing to you to, made you want to come back for season four?
It's just the two of us, right, Tony? And isn't that the straightforward, honest answer?
I think you're being gracious. It's you.
It's just the greatest writers and Rachel Brosnahan as team leader. We're just crazy lucky. Honestly, we can't wait to get the new scripts every year. We can't wait to be in each other's company. We're getting along obnoxiously. It's all of these elements, but I would say Amy and Dan created a world that is magical to watch and magical to participate in. So we all still really love our job.
I think too, one of the elements that draws people to it is the energy of the show, the sort of the authenticity. We're in this certain time period. It has a certain look, a certain feel. It's female driven, and it's this kind of refreshing, almost musical like energy to it. It's relatable. And I love this relationship between Midge and Susie. These are women who are they're trying to carve out their place in a professional career. They have these interesting conversations that almost never are about relationships or men or romantic their romantic lives. They're I think that's a rare thing these days, and so this is just like a handful of many elements that I think appeal to people, and it's funny. Let's face it, it's funny, it's bright, it's irreverent, unexpected, and it's totally refreshing.
And I think one of the things that's so amazing about it is that, of course, we're following kind of the escapades of Midge, trying to make it as a comic, but it's very much an ensemble cast. It's an ensemble piece. We're so invested in each of the characters, and there's humor in every bit of dialogue. So what have you enjoyed most about playing your individual characters?
Tony.
No, you go ahead.
Sorry to waste your time like this, Sarah. We just are so pleased with each other's work. I made a film career out of underplaying my characters and trying to maintain a balance of reality and authenticity that's very understated, because I never wanted to get caught acting. And I got this part and was asked to be a very loud, obnoxious Jew. And I'm being told it's the role of a lifetime and the role I was born to play. It's very disconcerting, quite frankly.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is I think unlike a lot of characters I've ever played. I mean, he's this multifaceted, kind of long-suffering guy who sort of deludes himself into thinking that he's in control of his life and his relationships, people in his life, and he's in this zone of constantly discovering that that everything he knows is wrong. He really doesn't know anything. The people in his life, his wife, his daughter, his son, aren't really who he thought they were, and so there's a certain joy in playing that and being in that state of discovery that Abe is in.
And, when you're watching it, everything just looks so impeccable. And it's not just the sets, it's the choreography of the way each shot is done, often, in one take, and the dialogue, there's such a rhythm to it, and it's so fast paced. So what is it like kind of preparing to shoot each scene? And, what do you think makes the dialogue so good and so witty? And how do you make sure you deliver it, exactly on notes?
Well, you've hit some great points. Yeah, they write so brilliantly that, quite frankly, the first challenge is don't get in the way of how good this is. And for those 8-page oneers with 17 moving parts, you just don't want to be the part that fails, and that's why we're doing it again. I mean, there really is the challenge and reward of doing those set pieces that take hours to rehearse and minutes to shoot. Man, oh man, it is an extraordinary experience that doesn't happen in television, to my understanding and experience.
Yes, that's true. It's more like theater. It has that kind of we're going live here, and that's the feeling, and so everyone is hyper focused. It's kind of like unlike theater. I mean, theater, you have 4 weeks to rehearse or more. In this case, we have more time than people are usually given in film and television, but still, it's like theater on steroids. It's compressed, but it's at the same time there's a sort of a joyful energy. You're hyper focused on what you're doing, but you're even more focused on what your fellow actors are doing, to really, really listen and really, really key into the nuances that are being thrown at you. And so that's a delight.
And you were saying earlier, it is female led, in terms of the writing, and a lot of the characters, and, kind of Midge trying to sort of break these boundaries and, of the kind of era that she's been born into. But it's very much not just about them, because it's also how they're playing off against, whether their husband or father or father-in-law. So it's very interesting to kind of see how they change as well. And as the women's characters are kind of developing, the male characters are also developing. So what do you think is so interesting about how those relationships and those gender roles kind of play out? And what is it like, kind of having these amazing actresses to bounce off, whether, it's Rachel or Caroline or Marion?
Yeah, there's a urgency to be on your toes and be better and listen and learn inside the scene and off the camera. The ensemble that Amy and Dan write to so brilliantly is I agree, one of the sort of driving forces. And the women are so powerful that it's quite frankly, a joy and a refreshing experience in that regard, almost more so than any. And obviously one of the reasons the show is so celebrated, that these women are so strong and the actresses portraying them are so strong and talented.
Yes, I agree. I think I just find that the men in this show, the male characters, I should say, are in a way they realize that they're that the world that they came up in is changing rapidly, and that it's the sort of male dominance or whatever, for lack of a better word, the male agenda is rapidly fading and sort of disintegrating, and so it's the male characters are in a sense kind of like a couple steps behind. They're in catch up mode, I would say, and I just think that's great. I think the dynamic that Amy and Dan have created there, I won't call it the war of the sexes. That's that's a cliche, but the paradigm is turning, and so to be a part of the discovery, as an actor of how that's going to play out is really interesting.
Well, I think I'm out of time, but it's been a pleasure to speak to you both, and I can't wait for everyone else to get out and see season 4.
Thanks so much.
Lovely to
Cheers,
speak to you
Sarah.
both. Thanks so much. Thanks for your time. Cheers. Bye.